magnified to that extent. But there are certain things that happen in this country, like you're giving. You know, in China, when you leave the airports and you call for a taxi, even if you attempt, just attempting to appreciate the person, your taxi driver, for even pulling your luggage is a crime. And they'll tell you, no, 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 I'll be killed, I'll be hanged. That is the type of reasoning that we'd want in this country. Today in this country, everyone wants a reward for even showing you direction. Just showing you direction, that is Moy Avenue. They want a reward in form of a bribe. But look at what is happening in the government today. Most of these corruption cases are so huge to an extent that we cannot even imagine that it was just a normal appreciation. Some of them call, some of the state officers call them facilitation fees. There's nothing like facilitation fee. This thing is as straight as an arrow. If the tender was awarded irregularly, that is it. If there was a kickback of 10%, that is it. We must now go back and look at the causes of corruption. One of the causes of corruption is we don't have very tight procurement laws. Because if you are single sourcing really, and then you put your fee there of whatever percent so that you get it back, that is where we go wrong. We must look at our procurement laws. We must look at the people that we put in office. It is a requirement under Chapter 6. Appointment should be on the basis of suitability, competence, and integrity. That is what makes people to serve in public office. We must test them before we take them to that office. But we have had a situation where the parliament rubber stamps the people. When the public are invited to vet through giving views on the people that have been nominated for public office, public shy away. But when they now steal, we make the loudest noise. We must now collectively get involved in ensuring that we have the right people in public offices.
Absolutely, and maybe something that we must deal with as Kenyans as well is the question of greed. I'm just reading this story and I want us to exit from this, but just to think what you talked about, some of the things that cause corruption, and I think as citizens, as a community, as a society, we are also becoming very greedy. But when I read this, I see that his Nairobi, the parts that the police raided was his Nairobi office, and then his homes in Vipingo, Kilifi, Mombasa. And one asks the question, how many homes do you need? How many places can you live at a time? And that's just a question of our mentality. And when it comes to acquiring wealth, what is enough?
Now, in Kenya, Kenya is the only country where a billionaire, a millionaire, and a thousandaire all desire the same thing.
Land and houses.
Land, houses, cars. And women. That's the same thing. It does not matter how much money a Kenyan makes, the desire is the same. Look at our prison prefect, governor. He spent Christmas showing us his home, which is the same thing rappers do, which is the same thing slay queens do. So that tells you that there's a depravity in our understanding of the acquisition of wealth. You see, in the West, when someone acquires wealth, like Bill Gates, who was interviewed recently, he said, you're now the second richest person on earth. He said, and I can't give away my money fast enough. In other words, when he's made money, his priorities in life change. You begin to pursue what are called the higher virtues, the virtues of art, the virtues of philanthropy, the virtues of research and development. This is something that was true for Carnegie and Rockefeller many hundreds of years ago, who decided to take their money and put their money in young people who had business ventures. Today in this country, fortunately or unfortunately, if you look at the young people and you ask yourself the very basic question, how many investors can a young person get for their idea? The answer is zero. Because you go to the bank, the rates are too high. You go to this billionaire, he's too busy building his next house to think, can I put in 1 million shillings out of the many billions I have into an idea? And that is the depravity of wealth in this country. Because you look at Warren Buffett, who I am sure is hundreds, if not thousands of times richer than Balala, he has one house. One house he's lived in since the 70s. Because just because you're rich does not mean you need a 16-bedroom mansion. You look at the Facebook CEO, Mark Zuckerberg. Look at what he dresses in. He buys clothes cheaper than probably me. And that's the problem, that we are depraved as a people. And this is not an indictment on Balala. This is an indictment on the Kenyan nation. We are a people who are obsessed with largesse. And look, if you look at how many Kenyans donate on a monthly basis to a children's home, or to an orphanage, to a school, you'll find there are very few. But yet, how many Kenyans drive in this country?
Absolutely, and there you go. So on that note, I think it would be good to recommend a book. The Millionaire Next Door is definitely a book that one could read just to get a perspective of what goes on in the mind of a millionaire, because I think many of us are probably deceived by thinking millionaires think a certain way, which is not the case. But there you go. That's a story for another day. But also on the front page, I don't know whether you guys have just come from home or you've come from the men's conference yesterday. yesterday having been the